Welcome into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports. So stick around. It's going to be fun. Wade, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. And big show today. I'm pumped. The weekend is in sight. And I get to dip my toe in the Halloween waters. We got a trunk or treat going down this evening. I mean, it is the best time of the year in my mind.
I believe we have planned for next Tuesday's top 5 to be Halloween candies. So I won't get you to divulge what you'll be giving out or what you'll be holding back at the trunk or treat, but we'll get into that next week. But yeah, big show.
A lot of good options, yeah.
Plenty of good options, man. And like I said, all the stuff doesn't get put out. Let's just put it that way. But in the second hour, we will visit with John PERROTTO of Draft Nation as we get ready for the World Series. The 12th meeting in the Fall Classic between the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers starts up tomorrow out on the West Coast, and we'll get his thoughts on that. It'll be fun for John covering some World Series action because he typically covers the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have not sniffed one in quite some time. So a little reward for him, but I'm looking forward to catching up with him. In our next segment, Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley, we will visit with Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach INGLE Martin. The Lions have a big matchup tomorrow in D2AA region action, so we'll check in with him on that, and we'll give out some of our weekly awards during that next segment as well. We'll also talk some college football. Disappointing trip south for the Blue Raiders last night, but not surprising. And some other Wednesday night activity of note in college football. A few other items we'll need to touch on. Thursday night football tonight. We'll get into that and some NFL notes as well. And it's Throwback Thursday. We will revisit a conversation we had recently with former Vanderbilt offensive lineman BRUNO REAGAN, touching on the Commodores' surge. And, again, just revisit that conversation and kind of illuminate some of the things that he said during that have kind of been borne out here over the last little bit. So looking forward to, again, revisiting that conversation with BRUNO REAGAN at the top of the second hour. So, yeah, it is a big show.
$167, the cheapest ticket right now, if you want to get into First Bank Stadium on Saturday. So when's the last time we could say that about a Vanderbilt football game?
The Texas takeover may not be what folks would have expected it to be at one time at that price point and with this team. Some folks thinking if some is good, more is better. Maybe they can get another number one team. Well, Texas isn't number one, though. Never mind.
Still a top 5 team, though. Maybe 2 top 5 wins.
Yeah, maybe Vanderbilt won't have quite the motivation for this one because Texas isn't number one.
Yeah, they may dial it back. But yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, cheapest tick I'm seeing on SeatGeeks, $167. And at this point in the season, the Vanderbilt folks that decided not to renew their season tickets and therefore let the Alabama and the Texas fans get their season tickets so they could get in this game cheap, they probably are thinking, man, I kind of wish I had those tickets. You could flip this weekend alone and make your whole season.
There you go. Yeah, it's an investment. Yep. So again, that's what we're looking like for the next couple of hours. Let's go ahead and dive into it with yesterday's results, today's schedule, and today's results in some cases on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Strap in, folks, because the rundown kicks off. We have volleyball scores from the state tournament, and here we go. It was Farragut defeating Blackman 3-0. Lipscomb Academy also knocked off Briarcrest Christian by that 3-0 score. Brentwood on top of East Hamilton 3-1. Summertown continuing to stave off elimination with a 3-0 win versus Gibson County. BGA defeating Goodpasture 3-0. Nolensville on top of Houston by that 3-0 marker. A lot of sweeps yesterday. North Point Christian 3-0 over Good Pasture earlier in the day. East Robertson continues to stay hot. They win at 3-1 versus Sale Creek. Loretto also hot. They win in straight sets versus South Green. 3-0 again, your final there. Valor Collegiate was a 3-1 winner versus Creekwood. I was on one side of Murfreesboro. On the other side of town.
No, that's in chat now.
Oh, yeah, they moved. You are right, man. And it feels a little odd not saying at the Seagulls soccer complex.
Exactly.
But down in the Eastern time zone, it was Page defeating Collierville 4-1. Houston defeats Oakland 5-0. Merrill Hyde on top of Liberty Creek 3-1. Franklin was a 3-0 winner versus Science Hill. Bearden 3-0 versus Siegel. Valor Collegiate takes a 3-2 win. Station Camp 3-2 on top of Valor Collegiate. I apologize for that there and our location. College football, as Mo teased earlier, it was 42-20, not for the good guys. Jacksonville State wins and remains unbeaten in Conference USA. More on them later. In WNBA. In NBA action last night.
Or as some people are now referring to it, the MNBA.
Yeah, the MNBA, the Men's National Basketball Association. The Grizzlies had a big lead and then hung on late, and they went at 126-124 versus the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake last night.
There we go. Short high school football season. This short high school football schedule today. Is this right? Briarcrest and Lipscomb at 11? That can't be right, can it?
There's a website on it. That is there was a volleyball match between those two at 11 a.m. this morning.
Okay, there we go. Yep. Okay. All right. 7 o'clock kickoffs for Glencliff and Hillsboro, Waverly at Loretto, and Overton at Stratford tonight in high school football. Volleyball action, we've got at least one final as Summertown defeated South Green 3-0. Let's see if we've got any others. Let's see. Looks like Sale Creek defeated Chattanooga School of Arts and Sciences 3-0. Creekwood with a 3-0 win over Anderson County. Brentwood defeated Houston 3-2. It was Lipscomb Academy 3, Baylor nothing. Again, Summertown with that 3-0 win over South Green. Also, Signal Mountain 3, Soddy Daisy 1 in a Hamilton County battle there. And it was Farragut 3, Collierville nothing. That was all state volleyball action earlier today. Later today, Brentwood and Houston. I think I just gave you that final. Anderson County and Creekwood are playing now, I do believe. Also, at 2 o'clock, we've got North Point and Battleground Academy. At 2 o'clock, we've got Loretto and East Robertson, Maryville and Nolensville at 2 o'clock, and Dyer County and Valor Collegiate at 2 o'clock. In girls soccer action in Chattanooga, an 11 o'clock start for Baylor and Lipscomb Academy. That one should have gone final, one would think. But seeing no scores to this point. Wait a minute. Baylor 1-0 in that final there. Okay. So Baylor defeated Lipscomb Academy. Right now, it was a 1:30 first touch for Knoxville Webb and Harpeth Hall. 4 o'clock, it'll be Franklin and Houston, also Merrill Hyde and Kingston, Station Camp and Tennessee. All three of those 4 o'clock starts. And at 6:30, it's Bearden versus Page. In NFL action tonight, you can see it on Amazon Prime at 7:15. The Minnesota Vikings travel west, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your rundown. Top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items available from 11 a until 6 p, as well as their hand-cut meats. And everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And the sporting news, long regarded as the baseball Bible, I'm not sure that that title still extends to that publication / website or to anyone else at this point. But at any rate, the sporting news announced its baseball awards and its postseason all-star team earlier today. And if you are a Braves fan, you can take a little solace in the fact that 2 pitchers from that roster have been recognized, as Chris Sale was named the Sporting News' National League Comeback Player of the Year. We've spoken on many occasions on this show about Chris Sale and his significance to this year's Braves team after making just 31 starts in the past 4 seasons for the Red Sox while being largely unavailable due to injury, but won the National League Triple Crown, leading the league with 18 wins, 225 strikeouts, and a 2.09 earned run average after finishing in the top 5 of American League Cy Young balloting from 2013 to 2018. It is unlikely that he will not win his first Cy Young this year after putting up the year that he put up this time around, and much needed by the Braves. In addition, he was named a National League All-Star, obviously, as a starting pitcher, while Raziel Iglesias shared NL relief pitcher honors with Ryan Helsley of the Cardinals. So there was only one starting pitcher and it's only one relief pitcher position on these teams. So the Braves got 1.5 of those basically, because again, Iglesias and Helsley shared the relief pitcher spot. By the way, Mookie Betts and Corbin Carroll also shared an outfield position, with the other 2 taken by San Diego's Jackson Merrill and Jurickson Profar. Merrill, the Sporting News' National League Rookie of the Year, by the way. So congrats to Sale and to Iglesias, and hopefully this will be the first of many postseason awards for both of them.
Yeah, Sale seems like a done deal as far as Cy Young after the season that he had. And that comeback player of the year is justified. I mean, he was 60-1 preseason to win the Cy Young. I mean, so that's kind of where we're talking about where this guy was. And, you know, it didn't seem like you knew what you were going to get out of this guy. You certainly probably didn't maybe think even outside of the immediate Sale family. I don't know that you think this dominant of a year.
No.
What a year it was for him, and almost undoubtedly going to sweep your Cy Young balloting across all these different awards outlets as they kind of release them in the next couple weeks until we get into November for the officials.
If it's not him, I'll be certainly interested to see who it is.
Yeah, gonna have a hard time selling me anybody else.
American League All-Stars, as voted by the Sporting News, is balloting. Jose Altuve and Jordan Alvarez were named All-Stars at second base and designated hitter from the Astros. So congrats to them as well. Let's go ahead and sneak a break in here right now on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it'll be time for Coach's Corner as we visit with INGLE Martin from Christ Presbyterian Academy. Stay with us after the break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. And as we await INGLE Martin's arrival here for Coach's Corner, we will go ahead and give out our weekly awards. We'll start with the Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week Award, which goes to the victorious Summit football team, picking up their first win in their last 7 outings and doing so in decisive fashion last week with a 48-7 victory against visiting Overton in Region 6-6A action. Spartans scoring all 48 of their points in the first half. Mason McElhaney with a couple of rushing touchdowns, couple of passing touchdowns. Aiden Britton shown there, having posted a 52-yard pick six. And again, all of that in the first half of a dominant performance for Summit in that 48-7 win over visiting Overton, earning our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there's no greater team building process than athletics. Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game. Congrats again to the Spartans. And our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week is Columbia Central freshman Jamari Hall, making his first varsity start. In fact, he was still on the junior varsity roster when the JV Lions played Monday down at Battle Creek, but that's another story for another day. I don't think he's going to be playing any more junior varsity football because last Friday night against Franklin County, all he did was intercept 3 passes, taking 142 yards for a pick six, and finish with 5 tackles as Columbia Central defeated Franklin County 48-7, popular score. So Jamari, for that performance, is our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance Athlete of the Week. Congratulations again to him and to the Summit Spartans, our Custom Stone Handlers Team of the Week. And with no further ado, we bring to the stage Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach INGLE Martin, the Lions with a huge matchup tomorrow night as they travel to Franklin Road Academy. Not much of a trip, but two undefeated squads, both 8-0 going into that matchup. Again, huge Division II AA Middle Region matchup. Coach Martin, thank you for taking some time out of your preparation for that game to visit with us.
Yeah, Mo, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Hey, just this is where people expect CPA football to be this time of year. I mean, coming into the latter stages of the season with a sparkling record like this, getting ready to play big ball games both here and over the next few weeks. What is it like, just as Mike Tomlin says, the standard is the standard, but what's it like being at the top of a program that the expectations are so high for?
Well, I think first of all, I got to thank our baseball coach. I'm sitting in his office. I share with two other people, so I'm looking at Coach Nesbitt and his daughter running in that picture behind me. So yeah, it's definitely a blessing. You know, we talked about it this week. Getting to play meaningful football games in October at the end of the month is what the goal is every year for us. And our kids have done a great job. You know, this year, 18 seniors, all they heard about was, you know, the 30 guys that we had graduate last year. And, you know, I think 7 of them are playing college football. And so when you lose that, I think you have nothing but to kind of know that you've got your work cut out. And so these guys, when we started practice after the dead period, you know, we had guys playing baseball and basketball and lacrosse and doing everything. And the first time we really got together was in July. And from that first practice on, you know, once we started getting our guys back, you could tell that there was a level of, we've got some unfinished business. We've got an opportunity and we want to take advantage of it. And so, you know, this week is kind of the tip of that, with an opportunity to win the region, to set yourself up to host playoff games in November. And I think high school football, that's always the carrot that's dangling out there for the kids and for our community.
You said you're sharing an office with Larry Nesbitt and who else?
No, Coach Nesbitt, if I could give you a tour like MTV Cribs, you would be impressed. He's got a nice big office. They stick Coach Haywood and Coach Houston Nichols and myself. We're up in the office upstairs. The 3 of us get in there. That's our war room, so to speak.
Now, help me out. You are a football coach, but you're also AD, right?
Hey, I do better around people. I don't like sitting off in the by myself. So no, Coach Nesbitt, he actually has probably a busier job than I do. He's our assistant head of the upper school. And so he's got meetings all day long with kids and families and all sorts of stuff. You know, Coach Haywood and Coach Nichols and I, we sit up there and occasionally have some of those meetings. So.
Okay. Got you. All right. I just wanted to make sure that you were being taken care of in a manner that is fitting for someone of your stature, Coach. So
no, we've got a great office. I love Coach Nichols. You know, I don't think he ever had sat across from someone. So the 2 of us are, you know, our desks are touching. And he said it reminded him of like the Chinese fighting fish, you know, staring at each other. He's like, always felt like he had to be on the edge. And so we've gotten over that.
Coach, again, 8-0 coming into this matchup with Franklin Road Academy tomorrow night. And it's not like you guys haven't been tested. Opening with that 31-24 win against Brentwood Academy, and then, you know, Pearl Cone, MBA, BGA, a Webb school team that I think is better than anybody expected, and a pretty solid Antioch team as well. I mean, it's not like you guys duck anybody. To get to 8-0, what's been the key for y'all?
Well, that first week, you know, we didn't really know what we had. Like I said, you know, we lost a lot. And so starting a bunch of guys that hadn't played high school football before. And so that first game, kids came out and, you know, had one of those that was tight at the end and were able to make some plays on offense and defense. And then, you know, it's kind of took off from there. Pearl Cone, we had a good lead, and Coach Brunetti, his kids never quit, and so we're up 21, and they scored 2 quick touchdowns in the fourth quarter and have a chance for the onside kick, and so again in another tight game, and so the kids were able to come through with that one, and then the rest of the season I think has been continued improvement, getting better defensively. We've had a lot of kids step up. And I think the biggest thing is, you want to get ready with those non-conference games for your region. And I think we did that when, we played NBA and Pearl Cone and Antioch and those guys. So the biggest thing again is we've got a meaningful game, one that's got a lot on the line for us tomorrow night. And we're really excited about it.
Wade, you there? Coach, well, Wade, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, much better.
Yeah, technology is a beautiful thing. Coach, I want to say thanks for joining us again, but also, I got a chance to see you guys the night that y'all did play BGA, and I was impressed with how you guys just kind of went cool, calm about your business on a night where BGA was really, really amped up and was really flying high. But also on that night, you had Rawls Patterson that kind of goes down. I guess maybe if you would just kind of speak to the depth and just kind of the overall demeanor of this team and the buy-in, because it seemed like that was the most impressive thing to me, the way that everybody kind of kept their cool on a night where things could have gone sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, well, I think that night in particular, we had a safety that was out from the week before. And then Rawls goes out the first or second play of the game. And so, a lot happened quickly, but we had a kid, Dylan Reed, senior, that has been one of the most fun kids I've had the privilege of coaching. His brother played for us several years ago, but just a great kid. And Dylan had his best summer of his 4 years here. He always gives great effort, and he's one of those kids that you pull for. And he got his number called a lot that night and was able to step up and make some plays. And then I think the biggest thing that we felt is Hudson Chance, our quarterback. He played great that night, and he's been able to make some plays for us when things weren't there, and he's been able to move chains when we needed him to. I mean, the Brentwood Academy game had a really big scramble completion to our receiver Owen Cabell, and then the next play, the two of them hook up for a touchdown that kind of got us going. And so there's been several things during the season, but I think the biggest thing is that leadership, starting with Hudson, and then on defense, Steele Chance has played a ton of football for us. He's been our leading tackler the last couple of years, and he doesn't mess around. Steele's a great influence there at that inside backer position. And then, we've got Brock Bedingfield and Max Sherrod on the defensive line that have played great. Eli Dickey on the defensive line. And so that has given us the ability to have our offensive line. Brady Smith, senior, that's committed to Furman, is leading us there, playing center. And our offensive linemen are getting to get on the sideline and catch their breath because of that depth that you mentioned. And so that's something that we don't intend to do every year, but this year we got 2 sophomores that are starting at tackle on offense, and we felt it was best to kind of have them go into backup roles on defense. And so that kind of gave us a little bit of that depth option, but it's certainly been something that's been fun to watch.
Absolutely. And, I kind of got to ask you too, being a QB yourself, and Hudson, as a senior, he's got the leadership factor, but what else? What are some of the other intangibles and skills? What makes him so unique in your mind and so valuable for you guys?
Well, as Mo really appreciates, Hudson's a big time baseball guy. And so baseball guys, I told him, he came at one point during the season, I forget what it was, and I could tell he was like, kind of like shaking. And I said, Hudson, what are you worried about? I said, you stand in there and let people throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs at your head. This is way easier than anything that you're gonna have been doing or about to do in your future as an athlete. But yeah, he's can throw it, he can run it. He's 6'2", he's 225 pounds. it takes more than just a little contact to get him down. And he's a tremendous athlete. You put him on the basketball court, you put him on the soccer field, whatever, he's going to probably figure it out and be better than you are at it. And again, he's got a contagious spirit that he believes in what his guys are doing and what the team's doing.
INGLE Martin, veteran Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party. And INGLE, you mentioned multi-sport athletes, you having been one yourself. Eli Dickey is a familiar name to some folks, I imagine, particularly the Dickey part.
Yeah. Talk about a multi-sport athlete. His dad kind of paved the road for me at Montgomery Bell Academy, R.A. Dickey, and getting to coach Eli has been a joy. He's unbelievable. The energy that he has and the way that he plays has been fun to watch. And again, another multi-sport kid, one of the best pitchers in the state. We'll have a chance to play college football or baseball. He's got offers in both of them. And certainly fun to watch.
You mentioned bringing everybody together last summer and some of the different other sports that some of them were involved in, including lacrosse, which I thought was kind of funny. But, at a school the size of a CPA, you're going to kind of run into that typically, I would imagine. I mean, your best athletes are involved in a lot of different things. And fortunately, again, you come from that background yourself, but how tough is it to get everybody back together and on the same page in a short period of time as you had to this year and as you have had to in the past?
Well, it's one of the challenges of coaching high school sports. But it's also, I think, the thing that makes coaching high school sports beautiful. You got these kids that don't really know who they are, don't know what they're going to be doing, but they just know that they like doing stuff together. And, I've got tons and tons of stories of guys who came out to play because their friend wanted them to, who ended up helping us. And the same goes for these other sports. London Humphreys, who's at Georgia now playing receiver. London was a baseball, basketball, track guy. He ended up giving football a try, and, his probably legacy is he missed the baseball semifinal game in the state tournament to go run the state track meet, and then made it back for the finals the next day. But our baseball coach, again, Coach Nesbitt, our track coach, they were able to work out a plan that allowed a kid to use all of the gifts that God had blessed them with to help our school. And I think that's really what high school sports, it for sure used to be about. I think it's getting harder and harder with the way that I feel like high school sports are headed, which, we're just about 10 years, always 20 years, 15 years, whatever you want, behind college sports. And so the more money that gets pumped into to high school sports and, professionalization with everyone having a private coach or a summer coach or a travel coach, it's those people don't make money if you're not doing lessons and going and traveling with their team. And so they make it really hard for a family to believe that you can still do different sports during the year. And then, because people are specializing, like, there's that pool that the kids like, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And, I think it's something that we're very fortunate that we are, like you said, a school our size. We are a school that requires the coaches to work together and the kids to work together.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, as we've talked about your team a lot, but I do have to ask you, what challenges, obviously, other than being a just overall good football team, what does this FRA team in particular kind of maybe give you a little heartburn as you head into this week?
Well, we've played this coaching staff, I think, the last 3 years, and Coach Geisinger does a great job. His kids always play hard. They know what they're doing, and then they don't beat themselves. And I think the last 4 years we played NBA and Coach Uverard, and it's a similar type of feel, right? Like, they're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to out execute them. and then there's always 3 or 4 plays in the game that decide it. And they've got kids that can run, on the skill side of things. They've got guys that are really good. I think they've got the best lineman that we've seen this year. Their left tackle, number 64, and then they always have a quarterback that knows how to make plays, and his staff, Coach Geister's staff, does a great job putting the ball in space in a myriad of ways. Like you name it, they've probably tried it. They threw a hook and ladder to the tackle multiple times this year. They're throwing what most people call a save the game type of play that you see at the end of NFL or college games. They're running it on first down where they're hitting a guy over the middle and then someone's running across the field and catching a lateral. So any wrinkle that you can think of, they make you prepare for it. And then, their kids play hard and they execute. So when those types of things happen, you don't know what you're going to get, but he'll definitely have something up his sleeve. And I think our kids are ready for it. They're excited for that opportunity. And I think all of our coaches are taking bets on what the first gadget's going to be.
Yeah, it sounds like they had the Lions playbook before the Detroit Lions actually have ran some of these plays after we saw some of the tricks they pulled out this season.
Yeah, and when you can feel confident enough as a coach to call them and teach it for the kids to execute it, they're hard to beat. And so that's, you look at it. I mean, they had a lot of big plays off of that against BGA in that game, which is the biggest game that they had the whole year. So when you're not scared to call those in those moments, I think when you're preparing for a coach like that, they also have that kind of smoke and mirror, if you will, but they're really good at what they do, which is running the ball downhill. And so when they run the ball downhill, it's really effective. And then they make you prepare for all that other stuff.
CPA football coach INGLE Martin joining us here on Main Street Sports today. He has had the Lions in 9 of the last 11 state championship games, winning 4 of those, including last year's. INGLE, how much do you understand this success formula that's going to have you move into Division II, 3A next year?
Well, I understand it a lot better after whatever that day was, that call. But I think the biggest thing is, and I think our head of school did a great job of presenting kind of where we were at with it. Move us wherever you want us. CPA started as a single A school. The year that I graduated, 2001, that class of kids, bunch of my friends won a state title in single A before they had started making private schools move to their own division. So 2017, the Board of Control voted that if you gave financial aid, if you gave or accepted tuition, that you had to go play in Division II. Up until that point, we stayed in Division I because I think the school decided, and frankly, I agree with it, that that's not a part of our school. We're not trying to go out and create an athletic program based on attracting kids to play sports. And so when the TLSLA voted for us to move in 2017, we played wherever they put us. This year, they said that, hey, we need schools to go up, and we happen to be the one that moved up. And so our biggest question was, if it's fair for one, then by the nature of that question, then it has to be fair for all. And so I think the TLSAA, if they had just waited, we would have, our 515 number would have put us in the top 50 or the top 12 schools or whatever they were looking for. And whoever was deciding that they needed to try this success formula, I think they got a little over anxious. But there's tons of data that that they've divided us up now. They said there is a difference between a public school and a private school in 2017 because we have tuition and we offer financial aid. So now they're dividing us up based on 80% enrollment, and then this. And Mr. Morrow, our head of school, called it a winning factor. It's not a success factor, because I think success is best probably defined by John Wooden, which is having peace of mind knowing that you've done everything you can do within your power to be the best you can be. That's it. It comes from self-satisfaction, not to get too spiritual, but success really is about the stuff that you can control. And so all that to say, the winning formula that the TSSAA adopted, I don't think really divides up private schools the way they need to be divided up. If tuition and financial aid is what separated us from being in public schools, then I think they got that right. It now also should be what separates us as private schools. And so you've got schools in Division II giving $4 million of aid. And so this isn't a hard thing to think about. You go look at the SEC, right? Alabama, Tennessee, they put a lot of money into football. Harvard has more money than anybody, but they choose not to put money into athletics, right? They want to make the school be the important thing. And so I think all the private schools probably have to get together and start talking about where do we want to draw the line, because Brentwood Academy and Innsworth already showed that enrollment means nothing when it comes to athletic success. When BA won 4 in a row, Innsworth won 4 football in a row, 4 basketball in a row, and their schools are a third, a fourth, a fifth the size of Macaulay, MBA, Christian Brothers. And so enrollment's not the biggest factor, I think, in private schools. And so I look forward, and I think Mr. Maher looks forward to having those conversations in an open forum versus what has felt like closed doors, back channel, kind of politics, if you will. And so, I said in a meeting a couple years ago to Mark Reeves and the TSSAA, like, I do think we need to have some people that represent private schools that talk about private school stuff, and nothing against the people on the board of control at the public schools, but we are, I think, different entities, and everyone has now said that, right? They've divided us up. So I think there needs to be some thought put into it besides enrollment. And the winning factor, the success factor, whatever you want to call it, is just a tough precedent to set, because now if you've got a great baseball team, you win, they're going to move you up. You got a great lacrosse team, you win, they're going to move you up. And that really kind of destroys the community part of, all right, we're going over to play this school. What if your boys basketball team wins and your girls basketball team doesn't win? So we're going to kick out the boys basketball team to go play some other people. So now your boys and girls team are playing on the same Friday nights. Like I don't know that they really thought about all the implications of this. And so I think, Mr. Morrow is going to talk about it, but if it's fair here, then we probably ought to spread it to every sport and every classification across the board. And if someone can look at me and say, okay, great, we're going to do that, then I think that's awesome. But if it's just going to be in one sport and one classification, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
One of my favorite managers, and you'll appreciate this name, INGLE Bobby Cox, used to say, I don't like to have a whole lot of rules because then I got to enforce them.
That's right. Well,
and I think that kind of fits exactly what you're saying here.
Well, Kevin Legate, who you remember as Davidson Academy's AD for a number of years, his wife is our basketball coach. He's a guy in our athletic department that really, really knows this thing from the top to the bottom. And that's his favorite saying. You make a rule that just boxes you in a little bit more. And so anyway, all that to say, I think the TSSAA has a hard job, and it's really hard when you're kind of trying to lead apples and oranges, so to speak. And I think Mark is a really good guy. Like I think that the people in the TSSAA are good people, and I'd love to have some honest, open conversation where everyone gets in a room together to talk about, like, what do we want to do? Because I don't think the TSSAA wants private schools showing up to middle school games of public school people and recruiting their kids away. I don't think the TSSAA wants us hitting people up on Twitter, recruiting them to our schools like college football or college basketball. And so I think we need to have an open conversation about it. If people think that's okay, then let's be open about it. Say, yeah, that's how we want to do it. And let Mark know this is how people think they want to do it. But anyway, I say all that. The mission of our school is not about anything with athletics. It's about assisting Christian families. And so for us, wherever you put us, we're going to play, we're going to compete. That's how it's been done for the whole time that CPA's played athletics. And all I know is I've got, 110 kids that I'm responsible for on this football team, and in our athletic department, we're going to try to love and support these kids and their families.
INGLE Martin, Christ Presbyterian Academy football coach and athletics director, joining us here on Main Street Sports today on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party. INGLE, as always, we appreciate it, man. Good luck tomorrow night. Sounds like it's going to be a barn burner, and we'll be keeping up.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all and everything you do for high school sports. And Mo, you have to pick on air, Dodgers or Yankees.
I hate you. My dad is a big Dodgers fan, so I'm probably going to go with the Dodgers. I really don't care, as I've said on numerous occasions here. My Braves are out, so I don't care, but probably the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers probably have the better lineup, but we'll see. We'll be talking later in the show with John Perrotto to get some insight on that. So if you're not out on the field, feel free to check it out.
Well, I think everybody in Nashville needs to go for the Dodgers because Mookie's one of us. And
that's a good point.
And to have a guy from Nashville win a World Series would be amazing. So go
that
Dodgers.
Would be absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you for reminding me of that. INGLE, I appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank y'all.
All right,
Coach.
Hey, when we continue on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll be talking a little college football. So stay tuned after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Throwback Thursday continues here on Main Street College Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and we're talking a little college football. As I mentioned off air to Wade prior to the show, when MTSU had to kick a field goal on its second offensive possession yesterday to go up 10-7, I knew things weren't going to go well because you weren't going to beat Jacksonville State at Jacksonville State kicking field goals. Final score: Jack State 42, Middle Tennessee State 20. MTSU falls to 2-6 on the season with that loss, and obviously would have to win out to reach bowl eligibility at this point. Think they've still got FIU, Texas, El Paso, and I don't remember who else, but I don't know that there's another 4 wins on their schedule the way they're playing right now, particularly in the offensive line and in the defensive secondary. So, I don't know what the expectation necessarily was in year one of the Derek Mason era, but listening to the broadcasters last night, they were saying that this is a young team and they've got some growing up to do and that kind of thing. Like that was the plan from the get. I felt like this was a bowl viable team. Maybe I was a little over exuberant along those lines, Wade.
Well, the one thing that that hurt them coming into this season, you got a coaching change, but also they were ranked in return. I don't have the book handy anymore, but Phil Steele had them ranked in the experience returning. They were ranked in the very, very bottom. They were like number 105, 108 in terms of just overall talent or in terms of starts returning. So that probably set them back. The fact you got a new scheme going. There's a lot of stuff that has kind of not worked in their favor this year. And yeah, to your point, I knew the game was over because the way the offense, and even though Vadiotto had a pretty good game last night, stat-wise at least by the end of it, when they weren't returning punts for touchdowns, that pretty much told you it was the end of the road for MTSU. Because that offense, due to those injuries, due to the just inconsistent play at times on that end of the ball, once they weren't returning punts, they're going to have to find some points elsewhere, and it was going to take a lot of points to beat a team like Jack State.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that team is loaded, and it felt like it was going to be them and Liberty at the top of Conference USA. Kennesaw State
And that other team.
Otherwise, the Owls, and that other team, the Owls won their first FBS game last night, knocking off Liberty 27-24 in Northwest Atlanta last night. Again, the Owls improving to 1-6 with that win. Liberty falling to 5-1 with that loss. I mean, Wade, what were the odds of Liberty losing that game last night?
I don't know the money line. That'd be a great stat to look up. But they were a 27.5 point favorite. Liberty was, and so not only do you lose. Not only do you see what slim hopes you had of maybe sneaking into the college football playoff with an undefeated season go by the wayside, in addition to all of that, you're going to be forever a statistic, as MTSU narrowly avoided this stat just a week ago, but you avoid becoming the first ever FBS win for Kennesaw State, who now has that distinction. And what a time to pick it up. That place was going nuts last night. A really cool scene that even on the smaller scale in terms of schools and things of program building, it was just still cool. That's kind of one of those great college football moments, and it came at the expense of Liberty. So America kind of won in a lot of ways.
USA,
pretty much.
We were talking yesterday about Tua Tagovailoa and his return from a significant concussion earlier this year. He's expected to play this weekend. Grayson McCall announced yesterday that he will be retiring. The North Carolina State quarterback who transferred from Coastal Carolina sustained a concussion earlier this month against Wake Forest. And his last year at Coastal last year was halted by a concussion as well. So he is stepping aside and intends to transition into coaching. He was three-time Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year before transferring to NC State. Finishes his career with 10,523 passing yards, 91 passing touchdowns, 22 picks, nearly 1,200 more rushing yards, and 18 touchdowns. Sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, I guess, right?
Yeah, tough break for Grayson, who's been one of the fantastic players to watch since he burst on the scene at Coastal Carolina. Three-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, and just really kind of was a part of some of those special Coastal teams that would have been fun to have a time portal and go back and have them in this discussion now with this 12-team playoff, because they had some really good teams, and he was obviously the maestro kind of calling those shots. So hanging it up, he's a guy that probably would have never, outside of injury, started in the NFL, but probably could have latched onto a program. And, you get paid good money to tote a clipboard in that league sometimes. So he could have certainly had that going for him. But props to him for at least, calling it and kind of going out on his own terms at least. And, I feel like he'll probably make a pretty good coach.
You feel like he would, and very mature decision on his part. It's got to be that's a very personal decision. It's not one that somebody else could make for you, that kind of thing. But, for him to be able to look down the line and think quality of life and that kind of thing and make that decision. Again, nobody can tell you if it's the right decision or the wrong decision, but he feels like it's the best decision. And so Grayson McCall hanging up the shoulder pads. The Southeastern Conference announced its 2024 legends that will be recognized during the Weekend of Champions, December 6th and 7th in Atlanta, including the SEC championship game. And Vanderbilt's legend will be 80s punter / kicker Ricky Anderson, played from 81 to 84. Tennessee's Eric Berry, a man who needs no introduction. Vince Young is being recognized as an SEC legend, which I guess, you had to pick somebody. Everybody's got to have one. Obviously, Vince did not play in the SEC, and if he did, he wouldn't be a legend because he'd still be playing. But Vince Young will be the Texas representative, and Oklahoma coach Barry Switzer will represent the Sooners at these SEC Legends functions that will be taking place that weekend, the first weekend in December. Alabama offensive lineman Barrett Jones, Arkansas free safety Ken Hamlin, Auburn offensive tackle Marcus McNeil, Florida quarterback Rex Grossman, receiver Terrence Edwards from Georgia, tailback receiver Dickie Lyons Sr. from Kentucky, LSU's Andrew Whitworth from an offensive tackle, Ole Miss running back Dexter McCluster, Mississippi State defensive lineman Fletcher Cox, Missouri quarterback Chase Daniel, South Carolina defensive end Corey Miller, and Texas A&M offensive tackle Luke Jokel are your other SEC legends that will be recognized that first weekend in December down in Atlanta. So congratulations to them. But again, particularly Ricky Anderson and Eric Berry being recognized for Vanderbilt and for Tennessee that weekend. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, good list. Like you said, Eric Berry needs no introduction. A lot of these guys don't need much of an introduction. And we just talked about getting paid a lot of good money to be a backup quarterback, and there was no greater backup quarterback in the history of the NFL than Mr. Chase Daniel. So cool to see him on that list. And Vince Young, obviously iconic college football career. Still have visions of him haunting Michigan in the Rose Bowl all those years ago. But it is a bit jarring. And, we joked about this in the summer when the ACC immediately started putting out graphics about how Stanford was winning all these gold medals at the Olympics. And it's like, hey, just slow your roll a little bit here. But yeah, Switzer goes in, Young goes in. It is part of the deal. You got to welcome into the fold at some point. But there were a few jokes flying around on the socials last night, because it is just a little jarring still seeing some of this.
Absolutely. Colorado officials are saying Travis Hunter will play against Cincinnati this weekend when the Buffaloes take on the Bearcats. The two-way standout has missed the second quarter of the last couple of Buffalo games against Kansas State and Arizona after injuring his shoulder against Kansas State. But they expect him to expand his role both offensively and defensively this weekend, and that's going to be huge for a suddenly surgent Colorado squad.
Yeah, Colorado back on the come up. Been right on the precipice of this season either completely falling apart or potentially still, he's still a Big 12 and therefore college football playoff aspirations. So getting him back obviously is a huge piece of that. And man, missing the last couple of weeks like he did, especially versus that ranked team at Kansas State, really probably put a dent in any sort of realistic, I think, Heisman chance that he had, unless he kind of picks it back up in a hurry. He was gaining a lot of steam with his play, and it felt like the national narrative was kind of building for Travis Hunter. Is really kind of nobody has wrestled that award away just yet. So maybe he can get it back going, because, yeah, it feels like he lost a little of that mojo, but having him back for Colorado is obviously massive.
51 catches for 604 yards and 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. So, I mean, the numbers kind of feel like they're there to some degree, particularly on both sides of the ball like that. So we'll bear watching what he can do against Cincinnati and going forward. And like you said, what this Colorado team does going
Absolutely.
forward.
And, most likely as a DB at the next level, but perhaps future Tennessee Titan, as he's projected to go in the top 2 or 3 this year.
Good luck to him. Hour number 1 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today is in the books. When we return to the Lee Company studios, it'll be Throwback Thursday as we throw it back to our recent conversation with former Vanderbilt offensive lineman Bruno REAGAN. Stay tuned after the break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilai Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a Weatherby.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
To be joined by former Vanderbilt offensive lineman BRUNO REAGAN, who is keeping his hand in with some My TV 30 Friday Night Rivals action. Saw him on the sidelines prior to Friday night's game between Nashville Christian and Columbia Academy. And BRUNO, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, because your main gig right now, you are teaching at Springfield, right?
Yeah, I'm up at Robertson County, Springfield High School. Just started this fall, so it's been interesting. I mean, my only teaching experience is really like coaching judo. I did it, but I've coached some big classes, all ages, so I kind of thought that skill set might go into the classroom. So I made some calls, got into one, and it's been going well so far.
Well, I don't imagine the kids give you any problem, because again, former Vanderbilt offensive lineman BRUNO REAGAN. So I don't think order in the classroom is much of a problem at Springfield for you, is it?
No, but I also encourage I don't mind the chaos either. I mean, I've lived it for so long. So like some teachers, they're like, if they talk a little bit, they get on them or whatever. I'm like, if you could, as long as you're not like fighting each other, I'm pretty okay with it. So my kids are pretty reserved though. Yeah.
There you go. BRUNO, what is going on at your alma mater right now?
I think a lot of people are learning a lot of people just frankly have learned. We're seeing the true key to success, which is those that adapt, right? In anything, those that adapt succeed. When Clark Lee first got to Vanderbilt, and this was back when I was working at Rivals with Chris Lee, who gave me my first gig ever in the industry, which I always thank and respect him for. The main thing I heard about Clark Lee, again, sources and all that, like I never asked my former players to tell me anything, but this is what people around the program would tell me, was he wanted to be a build up the program type guy, right? Because Vanderbilt is a very unique place. Like you have to go to class. I don't know if you guys know this. A lot of SEC players, a lot of them probably don't go to class. Like at Vanderbilt, you're required to go to class. You have study hall hours. It is a little bit more rigorous. So you want to bring in guys and build up a culture, a program, things like that. And I don't think Coach Clark Lee, again, I'm making an assumption here based off what I heard about him. I don't think he was very portal-esque. He was not all around that, right? He wanted to bring guys in, build them up. Well, NCAA gets, nuked by the Supreme Court, bringing in what we have now. And we are all kind of seeing that sometimes you just might, like, your philosophy might be wrong to get it done. I mean, those first years with Clark Lee, they were tough. I was up there in the booth as an alumni, and when you're in the press box, you're supposed to try and be as objective, like non-emotional as possible. And I just vividly remember ETSU players stomping on our logo after the game. And my blood pressure had to have been in the near criticals of a man dying. Like it was hard. It sucked. It was bad. And it's not like I was out there like, we need to fire Coach Lee or anything, but it was unacceptable. Fast forward to now, somewhere, someone was like, here's some money. This is your last chance. Fix it, or, how many more years do you have? Well, there's the story of last year, a kid from New Mexico that beats Auburn. Sure sounds like a Vanderbilt guy. Doesn't look like your typical quarterback, a little bit shorter. A wrestler build, by the way. A wrestler build. And you can tell he's a wrestler when he moves in open space. He's not Lamar Jackson out there. But when you get into Vanderbilt and you bring a kid and raise him up through the Vandy standard for a long time was subadequate. So you bring in a kid who doesn't know any better. Sometimes ignorance truly is a bliss. I really do live by this philosophy. Sometimes you have to be ignorant enough to believe you can succeed to do it. And Diego Pavia and those group of guys, they don't know. They probably don't even know what SOV is. Ask any band what SOV is. Same old Vandy, right? Mm-hmm. They probably don't even know what that means. They haven't been here long enough, but they transfer in and they're just guys who are frankly dudes. Like, they're talking about going out to Barstool. I remember if I ever said I was going out somewhere after a game, like, I had to watch my back, right? They're like, yeah, we just beat Bama and we're going out to Barstool Nashville. Good. You need to be out there. People need to see, like, this is the stuff 18-year-olds care about. So I think there's a I don't even know what the right word for, I don't even know if what I'm about to say is a word. There's like a transfiguration around the program to becoming a real football school. And go figure, you can win and be good at school. Like, you can win and go to class. You can win and be a little mini celebrity. All that is necessary, especially now. So Vandy has taken advantage of the landscape that they're in now. And they won. They had the biggest win, school history, hands down, right? And all of a sudden, Vandy is like America's hero. All eyes are on Vanderbilt. People are talking about bringing game day to Texas. Now, again, they have to get past Ball State, which I don't know how many people are familiar with Vandy. They lost to Georgia State this year also on the road. Vandy, there's still some Vandyisms going on where why are we playing at Georgia State, right? So there's still some things, but I mean, then they could lose every game this season. They changed something about Vanderbilt with that win, right? Like, that's just what it is. And obviously they haven't lost every game. They just went on the road and beat Kentucky in an SEC game. So I think some people are changing, and props to head coach Clark Lee, Barton Simmons, all the work they're doing there, because they see the way they need to win and they're taking it.
Bruno, to your point, I mean, last night on HBO, on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, there's a whole segment where they spliced local newscasters across the country and reacting to Vanderbilt celebrating, down Broadway with the goalposts. I mean, they have entered the full-blown national discussion. And also, you kind of made a point that resonated with me. For a school that has such an academic pedigree and so many smart people on that campus, should we be surprised that if it really comes down to money in this day and age, that Vanderbilt is not the school that maybe kind of starts to figure things out? I mean, they got some sharp financial minds, and it's like, hey, just use the money effectively. And with the investment, it seems like it's paid off thus far.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not going to come out here and name donors. There's one man who always traveled with us that, I mean, obviously very well-known guy who I was like, he's probably the guy who pays for a lot of our scholarships. It's a private institution. When you see the $3 billion endowment, you would think that is like cold, hard, liquid money that Vanderbilt has. And that's not the case. A lot of it doesn't divvy up the athletic. We have to give a lot of credit to athletic director, Candace Story Lee, the heir to David Williams and his legacy. She was there when I was there as an assistant AD, and I mean, she was as real as they get. So to see her finally have the success, I mean, Vanderbilt has been a wildly successful school in every sport other than the two major ones, right? Basketball and football. They have the baseball success. They're successful in every other sport, but there's just been that sort of lacking as a SEC school to be successful in the recent years in one of those two sports. Basketball still trying to find their mojo, Jerry Stackhouse era, but football is it's lightning in a bottle right now. She deserves a lot of the credit for kind of going out. It's not easy. I don't know how much she's allowed to say it about her job on the political scape, but she has to go find these funds. She has to appeal to these donors. It's not like there's people that are Vanderbilt alum that there's shekels to be had around. Now I don't have them. I'll donate my $20 to the Commodore Fund. I'll do what I can. I'm a teacher, by the way. I don't know if you see my classroom, right? So I'm not here with $100 million either. But if Vanderbilt keeps winning like this, it's so much easier to sell, right? So it's not just going to be one guy bringing in the money. It's going to be, well, first of all, it's the entire fandom. I know there are people that are donating to the National Commodore Club or the collective that have never donated in their entire life, right? They're like, hey, you keep winning like this, you have my money. Take it all, right? And there's going to be big time donors that get in there and get into work, because Diego Pavia, that era is going to end soon enough. And there's going to have to be replacements if we want to keep up the success we're having. I mean, Vanderbilt hasn't been to a bowl game since Texas Bowl. Texas Bowl, when was that? 2018. So it's been 6 years. So we have to get to a bowl game first. 2 wins away, by the way. That would be a big step for the program, and just keep knocking off SEC teams if possible.
Bruno, you mentioned Candace Story Lee, a Vanderbilt alumnus. Clark Lee, no relation, Vanderbilt alumnus. How critical do you think their background as Vanderbilt graduates is to the success of this football program right now, just from the terms of them being able to really get across what being a Vanderbilt student athlete is all about?
I don't think being an alum is necessarily a qualification needed, but in the case of Vanderbilt specifically, it means everything. When you have to change everything, when you have to blow something up, or you have to make history, you have to create a culture. That is an impossibly daunting task that you could not pay me enough money to lose my hair over, right? I'm already losing my hair, and I don't get paid $100 million to change an athletic program of a prestigious university in the South. They, as alum, I can't speak for Coach Lee. I've talked to him, here and now, but I've never seen him as is. I've heard things. I've heard great things. But I know Candace Story Lee, and I know she cares. I know deep in her bones she cares about Vanderbilt University. She's going to put in the time, the work, whatever, until she's faced heavy criticism the last 6 years. Heavy criticism. But she pushed through regardless, and now we're finding the success. I mean, the stadium it's starting to come together. It looks great, and it fits like the identity of Vanderbilt. We don't need 100,000 person stadium. We don't need that. We don't need because it'll be 100,000 of the other fans probably. You got to remember, Vanderbilt, I believe our undergrad numbers are like 4,000 compared to other schools. Like a state school on average would be what, 16 to 20,000. That's on the lighter side. I remember USF was 40,000 undergrad when I was committed there. So it's a small community, and you have to know that niche, play that niche, and just have the drive to kind of overcome. I remember there was another AD before Candace Story Lee, and I'm not going to come on here and talk negative or drop names, but it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. But now we have these two people who it definitely matters to. I mean, Coach Clark Lee, he said before the game where Nick Saban had that quote, they were playing on the Jumbotron after they won, there's no hard or easy place to play in the SEC except Vanderbilt. And Coach Clark Lee went out on the Tuesday presser before the game, said, oh, that quote didn't bother me. They win the game. And then he comes out, he's like, yeah, that quote pissed me off. This is my school. I'm an alumni, right? So that just goes to show that meant something to him, and that lit a fire. And athletes work like that. Motivation sometimes comes from the unlikeliest places. Let's go back to the meme Alabama game, 2017, where they come to our place. We're both 3-0, and they wax us 56-0, and they had in their locker room playing, Nephi's quote where we were going to show them how to play SEC ball. That meant something to them, and that motivated them. Nick Saban, I don't know what cursed reality we live in where he thought it was a good idea. He has to be a talker now, and he talked a little too much. And that Alabama team or that Vanderbilt team was fired up to go out and play those guys and prove themselves.
Bruno Reagan, former Vanderbilt offensive lineman, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Bruno, you beat Alabama, number one team in the country, first win over a number one team in program history, as you mentioned. How does Vanderbilt avoid the letdown that everybody would have understood if they had gone to Kentucky and laid an egg Saturday.
Now, two main points: culture and coaching. There's a myth in sports where you have to be working sports, especially at that level, right before the pros at SEC level. It is hard work that consumes your life. But there seems to be a subset of people. Diego Pavia is going on ESPN, and they have Johnny Manziel coming, and you see the comments below on Twitter. It's like, hey, shouldn't we be focused on Kentucky? Like, you know how stupid you would have to be to pass up an opportunity to go sell your program on ESPN for what, 10 minutes? And I know where Diego Pavia is at. They pull him out of meetings and put him in front of, a background. And he's just there. Like, he'll go back to meetings after that, right? So it comes down to coaching and culture. If you show up on Monday and practice your tail off, you understand the coaches do the work essentially for you. You just have to review it on your own time. You have a game plan. Hey, this team's running this front offensively. Defensively, they do this stuff. This is who has to step up this week. Linebackers, heavy RPO team. You got to be on your heels and your toes. Sorry, but you got to be the athletes, cover sideline to sideline. Offensive, they're 3 down front, so you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments. But if you can pass protect, we'll win the game. And if you work on that stuff Monday and Tuesday with focus, you'll be well prepared. It's not like you have to be Kobe Bryant on the field snapping 100 times. That you don't have to do that. So they celebrate hard, sell the win on Sunday, and then Monday turn the page. And they did that. And now, they're in a great spot. People I've never even seen before. If you look at the AP polls that have just came out this week, people are like, rank Vandy, you cowards. That's the entire conversation. That is the national conversation. They're like, rank Vandy. I'm sure if Vandy beats Ball State and then they host Texas, #1 team in the country right now, rightfully so, coming in, that there's a chance they'll be ranked. So people's outcries will be answered.
Bruno, you mentioned, I think there was something on Twitter about a bunch of the guys going to a Preds game, and you mentioned that, these guys need to be out here for a number of reasons. One, they need to enjoy this, but two, people need to see them enjoying this, particularly, recruits and donors, I guess, because it comes back to, selling what has been an undersold product for a pretty good period of time. And so, for recruits, they need to see everything that's available to them if they come to Vanderbilt, I guess. And donors need to see, a little bit of a return on their investment, I guess.
If you are someone that donated, I don't know the amount of money to a collective, let's say around the realm of a few million. Let's say you donate a few million that's coming in the season, and that's I don't care how wealthy you are. That is no drop in the bucket. Mm-hmm. And you see this result right now, and you see I'm sure you have to feel somewhat responsible for what you're seeing right now. You have to feel very validated in whatever you spent. And seeing them at the Preds game, you know what 18-year-olds care about? Cars, chains, girls, and then education, probably in that order, okay? You want to know why? I know, because I was once 18, and I hung around a bunch of 18-year-olds. That's what they care about. So they see these guys, super famous. They're at Preds games. They're on ESPN. They have Johnny Manziel, one of the most exciting football players ever, come to congratulate them, right? That's what 18-year-olds see. There's a kid at my school right now, class of 2028, defensive back, freshman. Went to Kentucky, took a visit, got his first SEC offer. Watch Vanderbilt beat them on the road, right? Like that stuff, I'll never forget. I went to Ole Miss, and I watched Jordan Rodgers and Jordan Matthews tear up Ole Miss at Ole Miss. And that stuck with me for a long time. I was like, there's something about those guys. I mean, they James Franklin was on the sideline going crazy. They beat Ole Miss bad on the road. That's the stuff recruits care about. It matters. So if you say it doesn't, from a moral perspective, you might have an argument. I want Vanderbilt to beat everybody, have the best recruits, and it is such an opportunity. Vanderbilt is such a good school. Mo, you kind of got the pleasure to see me grow up. I mean, I was a kid when you met me. Mm-hmm. I guess I still am a kid, but I was a real kid when you met me. I was not like an academic or any. I was a meathead wrestler, but I got the opportunity to go to this school, like this university. I would have never got the chance to go to university like Vanderbilt without football. It changed my life, and it gives me it opens the door for all these opportunities. Now I'm a service-based individual, so I go into teaching, I coach and things like that. But the connections, the people I've met, and just the way, like when I tell people, employers, like I went to Vanderbilt, like it changes, like it is such a valuable thing to have in this world. But we suck at football, so no one wants to go there. You know, they go to Georgia, they go to Ole Miss, and I'm not going to say that those people don't have, you know, outlets after football, but it is such a great school that just because it sucks at football, you know, a lot of kids miss the opportunity to go. It is an amazing place. You learn a lot. If you care at all about academics, when I was there, I probably didn't care enough, but I still got the opportunity to learn a lot. So it's good to see that this university is getting the mainstream love it deserves. And the school cares so much about their ranking too. I'm sure you see ranked 14th, ranked 15th or whatever. I guarantee you they start winning football games, that ranking will go up just because like that's part of the prestige. If you're in America, especially the Deep South, you better be good at football.
Bruno, yeah, you are 100% correct. And to your point, you know, that win over Alabama is the biggest win in school history. But in a weird way, I felt like this win over Kentucky was maybe one of the more important wins in school history, because it would have, as you said earlier, been classic Vanderbilt to just lay an egg in that game. And we've seen Kentucky beat some good teams. So the fact that that game played out the way it did, I think it's not on the same level as Alabama, but it's certainly got to be a very, very important win to keep this momentum going. With all due respect to Ball State, because you assume that one should be a little more salvageable, right?
Absolutely. Again, everyone wants to. I'm a fan now, so I don't have any problem saying like we should go out there and wax Ball State. Will it happen? To be seen.
26 and a half point favorite at home. You should take care of business.
You should, right? But I've also seen UNLV drop 40 on us like twice. So it is what it is. That's the history of the school. But I agree. I mean, that is such a great point too. Like Alabama, biggest win in school history, most important game ever in school history was the one after that to see if it was a fluke or not. Everyone was giving Vandy their flowers. Now there's like a national hate towards Alabama and the dominance they've had over the past 20 years or so, right? So people are already saying, patting Vandy on the back, saying it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke. Well, now they kind of got to prove it going on the road and winning on the road there is some mystique to it. It is so hard to do. It is such a hard thing to do, especially in the conference we play in. And they did it. I mean, they already went out and did it the first time. So there's some curses that still need to be broken. I don't think Vanderbilt has defeated South Carolina in a football game. It's been a long time. We might be trudging on near 20 years now. It's been a very long time. I didn't do it. There were 5 years before me didn't do it. It's been 5 years since. So we're trudging on a long time. So that could be something we finish up. Historic programs like Florida. I saw a tweet today. It was, guys, do you realize Vanderbilt controls its own path to the playoff? Like, in a funny way, it kind of does. And you look at the Georgia State and the Missouri game and you're just like, oh man, but that's not the way. And again, I was mentally beaten down to think this way. But when you lose those games, I mean, you can't even remotely think about them. You just have to think the next week, and it's fun. This has been such a fun season to be a Vanderbilt fan. And there were people earlier this season calling for the guy's job, right? And it's like, how stupid do I feel now? That is the most fun. Anytime someone feels stupid, it is the most humiliating thing ever. This is the fun kind of feeling stupid. This is like, how could I ever have been so dumb? This is awesome. This is great. So what a wild ride of emotions it's been for Vanderbilt fans the past 5-10. And if you've ever been to a Vanderbilt game and you look in the stands, there are lifelong Vanderbilt fans that have resigned themselves. They've probably never thought in their entire life, I would never watch Vanderbilt beat a number one team ever. Like there's people that have cheered for this team 40, 50 years. Never thought they'd see that. Saw it.
There you go. Bruno Reagan, former two-time state wrestling champion, former Vanderbilt offensive lineman, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Bruno, we appreciate your time, man, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. It was nice seeing you again, Mo. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun coming on, so I appreciate you guys.
Sounds good.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Do you wanna be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you wanna taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Welcome back to Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes and just revisited that great conversation with Bruno REAGAN of Vanderbilt football and high school wrestling fame. So, always fun catching up with Bruno. Always fun catching up with our next guest, John Perrotto of Draft Nation, who's going to bring us some insight into this East Coast, West Coast Major League Baseball beef that will be the World Series. John, thanks for taking some time and thanks for hanging out as we wrapped up that segment with Bruno, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, Vanderbilt's ranked. They always they got to take precedent over me this year. They're having a great year. So, no, it's very interesting listening to him. It's fun to see. I know it's been some lean years for Vandy, and it's good to see them in the top 25 this year. But to your original question, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, Mo.
Absolutely. I saw some of your work earlier this week with Draft Nation, and you are leaning toward the Yankees in this upcoming World Series. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I like their starting pitching better. I just think, they can roll out Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, and Luis Heel, who are all quality starting pitchers. And a guy like Cole, even though he's had kind of a down year because of elbow problems, Cole can dial up a big-time game at any time, and so can Rodon, where you look at the Dodgers, they have Jack Flaherty, who's pitched well since they acquired him at the end of July. And they have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who they paid $325 million to in the offseason. And when he's been able to pitch, he's been pretty good this year. But, he's limited to, I believe, 15 or 16 starts because of a shoulder problem. And then, then they have Walker Buehler, who just does not pitch very well. He's had a hard time coming back from his second Tommy John surgery. And that's all they have now in their starting rotation because of injuries. And they're going to have to go to a bullpen game. And I just don't have faith in a team that has two reliable starting pitchers, even a short 7-game series.
So Kershaw is not available then?
No, he has bone spur on his toe. It knocked him out late in the regular season. He was hoping to pitch through it. They said that he couldn't do any more damage to his toe if he pitched with the injury, but it just got to be too much for him, the pain and everything, and he's going to have surgery here after the World Series.
Yikes.
That sounds painful.
It does sound painful, and I mean, particularly for a pitcher, I guess. I mean, you really need your feet. Offensively, how do you feel like these two teams stack up, John?
Well, they're both very dangerous. I mean, you look at the Yankees, and they have that middle of the order with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto hitting second. Gleyber Torres has had a really good postseason from the leadoff spot. So, I mean, those top four hitters right there are very, very dangerous, to say the least. And then their deep all the way down through the bottom of the lineup. Even you get to number 9 and Anthony Volpe, the shortstop, the second-year shortstop. He's had a big postseason after a kind of a so-so regular season. So, but you look at the Dodgers, and the key to them is going to be Freddie Freeman if he's healthy, their first baseman. He's battled. He sprained his ankle the last week of the regular season, and normally, in normal times, he would be on the IL right now on the injured list. He's trying to play through it. He's getting 4.5 hours of treatment every day. He missed a couple games in the LCS, and they're hoping that rest, along with the fact that that we'll have 4 days off before game 1 on Friday night, will help that ankle heal enough that he'll be able to get through the series or most of the series, maybe only have to take like 1 game off. So if Freddie's in there hitting third behind Shohei Ohtani, who obviously is the best hitter in the game right now, and then Mookie Betts, who you're all familiar with, is a Tennessean, and he's had another fine year since coming back from breaking his hand, getting hit by a pitch. Then you have other players beyond them. Teoscar Hernandez is a pretty good cleanup hitter that people sort of overlook because of the star power at the top of the order. They have Max Muncy. So both teams are very capable of scoring runs and in bunches. I know it's always harder in the postseason, especially the World Series, when you're going against top-notch competition, but I really think the Dodgers' best bet to beat the Yankees is to somehow try to outscore them.
Yeah, and that was real quick. That's what I was going to ask John. You kind of walked right into it. Is this going to be a series where we're looking at a lot of high-scoring games in your mind, just considering how explosive these offenses can be? I mean, with the weather being colder, especially in New York, of course, are we looking at a lot of home runs? I mean, I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on that kind of aspect there.
That's a great question. And, normally you would say low-scoring games because you get into the World Series, and not always, but more often than not, they're tight games, they're low-scoring games, because in most years, the teams that get there have exceptional pitching. And that's not the case, especially with the Dodgers. And you have 2 powerful lineups with the Yankees and the Dodgers that, I could see some more high-scoring games than you normally would expect in a World Series. I certainly could see some slugfests here, especially in those middle games 3 and 4, where you have Buehler in a bullpen game for the Dodgers, and you have Clark Schmidt, who had a good injury plague, but a good season when he's been able to pitch. But this is this is really his biggest stage he'll been on in his career. And even though Luis Gil won 15 games as a rookie this year, he is a rookie. He didn't pitch all that well late in the season. He had some back issues, so you don't know what you're going to get from him. So I could see the first 2 games being your typical World Series 2-1, 3-2, 4-3 games. But I could see those 2 games in New York in 3 and 4 really being. We may get a 10-7 game or an 11-8 game in one or both of those games.
At this point, just give me all the runs. I'm just here to have a good time. Is the way I'm kind of going into this series.
Was a Deadline newspaper writer for a long time before I went into the internet. We don't want long games, 10-7. We want 1-0 games.
Quick and easy.
But since I'm not writing for a newspaper anymore, what the heck? They could play all night. I'm fine.
There you go. The beauty of the internet. John Perrotto of Draft Nation joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. John, you kind of broke down the Yankee pitching. I think a lot of us are probably more familiar with the National League, more familiar with the Dodgers, like you said, with Mookie and his area ties, Walker Buehler being a former Vandy boy and that kind of thing. And I know I watched a couple of Yankee games, particularly in that ALCS against Cleveland, and it felt like a bunch of guys I did not know, man. I mean, there feels like less star power on that Yankees team than there has been in a long time. Now, obviously, you got Judge, Soto, Stanton, but a lot of unrecognizable names to, maybe the casual fan.
Yeah, they really do. Their catcher is Austin Wells, who's a rookie. So, it's his first season. He's hit, I believe, 13 home runs, and he's been, at least if you go by the advanced metrics you find on the internet, he's one of the best defensive catchers in the major leagues already as a rookie. So, but again, not a guy that, a lot of people outside of New York are familiar with because he is young and he wasn't one of these highly touted rookies that everybody anticipated his debut coming up. Also, they have some other players, a lot of their bullpen pitchers, Tommy Kahnle, Luke Weaver, who washed out as a starter in St. Louis and Arizona, among other places. Suddenly they threw him into the closer's role because they didn't have anybody else after Clay Holmes struggled. And he's become like Mariano Rivera Jr. here in the postseason. He's been tremendous. Clay Holmes, who after being taken out of the closer's role has pitched a lot better. He really just lights out at the end of the regular season. He's been pretty good in the postseason. Not a lot of people familiar with him, even though he's been to a couple of all-star games, not a big name player. And, especially in that bullpen, they have some other guys, lefty like Tim Meza. And, everyone talks about when the Yankees have a big money, big payroll, and they do. They have a $311 million payroll. So they have their share of stars. But they've been able to fill in the margins with a lot of lower cost players, like making $1 million or less. And they've really come through for them, especially in the bullpen. And their bullpen has been a real strength in the postseason. And another guy I would throw in there would be Jake Cousins, who has bounced around for a few years. They picked him up off waivers, and he's been a key part of that bullpen too.
If the Yankees do win this series, it won't be the first time. Again, the Yankees and the Dodgers have met in 11 previous World Series showdowns, and the Yankees have won 8 of those. So now, the Dodgers did win the last one back in 1981, Fernando Valenzuela's rookie year. How much, from what you gather, John, how much is MLB and the Dodgers and that kind of thing, how are they going to try to honor and recognize Fernando Valenzuela, who passed away earlier this week?
Well, they're going to have a pregame ceremony before Game 1 at Dodger Stadium on tomorrow night, Friday night, to honor Fernando and all he meant to the Dodgers and baseball in general. And the Dodgers will wear a patch on their sleeve for the World Series, is number 34 on it, and also wear it all throughout next season. So, it's kind of, the timing is really sad. You think of, a Dodger legend and a living Dodger legend. I mean, Fernando was a regular around the ballpark, especially at Dodger Stadium. He was the color man on their Spanish language television broadcast. So, it wasn't like Fernando was a guy you saw maybe show up at the ballpark once a year or something. Mm-hmm. He was a steady presence there. And when I would be at Dodger Stadium, you would always see him. He was a really friendly guy, always would say hello, stop and shake hands. And yeah, just a really, really sad situation. I knew he'd been ill for the last couple months, but still when it hit the other night, it was certainly hit hard, because I know he's not a Hall of Famer. And I know people say, well, his statistics are a little short of being an elite pitcher, but what he meant to baseball, especially those first few years in the big leagues, and what he meant to the Dodgers and what he meant to the Latino population, especially the Mexican-American population, not only in Los Angeles, but really all across the country, you really can't weigh that with any statistic.
Absolutely. John Perrotto of Draft Nation, you can find him on Twitter or on X at J Perrotto, Perrotto. The Pride of Pittsburgh. John, I'm glad you're getting ready to keep up with some good baseball.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. Altogether, I've been covering baseball 37 years, and the Pirates have had 7 winning seasons in those 37 years. And they haven't won a playoff series since I was 15, as you can tell by my hair, Mo, which we are twins. 60. I'm 60 now, so that's 45 years. And I must admit, when I was 15, I was a lot more naive, of course, but I would have been hard pressed to think that the Pirates wouldn't have been back to the World Series by the time I turned 60.
It would have been tough to believe. Absolutely. John, we appreciate it, man. And look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Okay, Mo. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it.
All righty.
You.
Thanks. When we come back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's the final segment of the day. It's the grab bag. So stay tuned as we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's the final segment of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's the grab bag. As Wade and I jump in and see what we come up with from across primarily the NFL landscape today, starting with Thursday night football tonight as the Vikings go out west taking on the Rams in a matchup of two teams heading in separate directions. Wade, you're on mute. Wade, you're still on mute.
The rare double mute got me. All I was going to say, though, is technically they're headed in the same direction in the sense they're both coming off of losses here. But, yes, in terms of the way this season has unfolded and you would assume unfolds, we are close to Halloween, but Sam Darnold I don't think is quite going to turn into a pumpkin. And so the Vikings, man, this could be a proverbial get-right game for them. But there's been this weird effect for teams that have played the Lions this year. The teams, after they get banged and bruised by that physical Detroit Lions squad, they don't play well in their next outing. That plus a short week. We know how ugly these Thursday night games can be and often are. I think it'll be an ugly, close game tonight. I do like the Vikings to win, but I think it'll be ugly and close.
It's a short week, Wade, but the Rams are a little short-handed, and we talked about Cooper Kupp probably being on the trading block at this point. It sounds like they're going to get Nakua back for this game, which would really help a short-handed receiver core for the Rams. But you just wonder if they can put up enough points to keep up with Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. And who thought we'd be saying that?
Yeah, like I said, Darnold is, a couple of weeks ago there was some rumblings of him for MVP talk. I mean, that's how well he was playing, and he is kind of slowly returning, to his traditional
regressing to the norm.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's still got Justin Jefferson to throw to, which certainly makes anybody's job a lot easier. But yeah, look for Aaron Jones, to maybe get involved a little more. The fact that the Vikings have gotten such great production out of Darnold early, it's not necessarily that he has to go out and gunsling it for them to win games. Their defense is good enough to win them games, and their running game is sharp enough that they don't have to rely on 300 plus and 3 touchdowns every week from Darnold. They can afford to kind of nickel and dime teams when they need to, and in an ugly game tonight, they might need to do just that. Hawkinson also, though, not going to go. National Tight End Week has gotten off to a horrible start because T.J. Hawkinson is going to be out for Thursday night, so that's one less target available for Darnold tonight.
Nashvillians, meanwhile, can be on the lookout for Ty Chandler in that Minnesota backfield, the former NBA standout who played at Tennessee, finished up over at North Carolina. But yeah, keep an eye out for Ty. We probably should be talking about the Titans and their upcoming matchup with said Lions, but given the white flag that kind of went up yesterday, you're more wondering who else is going to be gone between now and Sunday or after that. John Glennon, who was on the show with us earlier this week from the Nashville Post, has an article up on who might be on the block if Titans continue to trade. Already, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins has gone to Kansas City. Ernest Jones has gone to Seattle. And he kind of speculates at some other folks that might be attractive for one of the other 31 teams in the National Football League, including safety Quandre Diggs, receiver Tyler Boyd, and defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day, all of whom are on one-year deals with the Titans, which makes it a little easier to trade for them if you are another team. And, all of them have varying degrees of attractiveness to a team that's looking for some upward mobility, I would think.
Yeah, especially those guys that you named. And Sebastian Joseph Day has been a nice signing for this team. But, it might be a situation where kind of like Hopkins, you're just trying to potentially flip and get a couple of pieces here, a couple of pieces there. Their draft portfolio is already looking pretty good heading into next season. And that's, with whatever that number, that first rounder ends up being. Diggs could be on the move. I'm kind of torn, though. I don't know that you just absolutely, well, there's only so much you can blow up, I suppose. But you don't go full nuclear, I don't know if Simmons, he's kind of being loosely talked about, maybe being on the move. But if there is a big name that is going to be on the move, and this could be interesting because I don't think this will play out this way, but it could be like the old MLB where you just swap dugouts because Harold Landry, he ain't going to be Aiden Hutchinson 2.0, but he could be a decent little fill-in for them. Not quite the same role exactly, not quite the same type of edge rusher, but he could be a decent little fill-in. So maybe just flip him at the end of the game Sunday, and, he can just go ahead and stay in Detroit and start looking for a new spot to rent out.
John's got them broken down into 3 categories here. He says prime targets. He's got Diggs, Boyd, and Joseph Day. He says don't rule out Arden Key or Chig Okonkwo, the tight end, 1 of 5 on the roster. Unlikely to be moved is where he has both Big Jeff and Harold Landry. So just for what that's worth. And you feel like particularly Jeff would be kind of the nuclear option right there.
You could probably get a decent haul for Simmons, and there's some other writers in the Titans realm that have said, maybe it is the time to move him. I mean, presumably his stock is not going to get any higher, and who knows how much of an injury he's really dealing with this year. Is he playing through that? Is he just not playing up to his usual standards, or is it him and Sweat, kind of trying to find their rhythm together? But that would be, kind of your true nuclear option. If there is going to be one more blockbuster move, I suppose, it feels like Landry might be that. And I mentioned Detroit as the potential, likeliest, I guess, place. But that's just what makes sense to me. And what usually makes sense to me is not usually what ends up happening. So,
Harkening back to happier times at Nissan Stadium, Steve McNair and Eddie George are both still in the hunt for election into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as part of the 2025 class, as is Gary Anderson. The three former Titans are among 50 modern era players who have advanced in the voting process. And so what happens next is that each member of the selection committee will review the 50 and cast a vote for 25 nominees that would go on to the semifinalist stage. That should be announced in about a month. So again, McNair, George, and Gary Anderson still under consideration for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 25. Billy White Shoes Johnson, a former receiver / returner for the Oilers and the Falcons, thank you, is under consideration as part of the seniors category. They have advanced 31 players in that category from the original list of 60. And next, that committee, that committee has voted for 25 players. That's where your 31 came from. All of those will be cut down to 9 semifinalists here in about 3 weeks, according to the articles on TitansOnline.com. So the Titans are still, Titans / Oilers are in position to have as many as 4 members of the Hall of Fame class. Plus, Bud Adams is in the contributors category and still under consideration there as well. So again, let's talk about happier things with the Titans and the current 1-5 squad. So
a chance to reminisce on the glory years there. And you mentioned Gary Anderson and you mentioned the Falcons. That always that 98 Vikings team, his only miss the entire season, had you clicking your heels as your boys go to the Super Bowl, because he was one of the all-time greats. His Titans tenure, relatively short-lived compared to the rest of his NFL career. But he was an amazing kicker. It's cool seeing him. It's obviously, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when this list came out, that Mitchell is on this list too. Brian Mitchell, that is. After Hester goes in, and Hester even kind of gives him a nod saying, hey, I'm not the only one that should be in. So this is going to be a great list. And we're entering that era where there are so many good players that it's going to be really tough to kind of whittle this list down. I'm kind of glad in some respects that I'm not going to be called to vote on this.
Absolutely. Finally, an area professional team gets their season off to a good start as the Memphis Grizzlies go out west and defeat the Jazz 126-124 last night.
Was a good win. Should have been a lot bigger. Taylor Jenkins, very stingy with the minutes, though, last night. Didn't bring Ja back in until 4 minutes left in the game. Almost blew the lead. Did blow the lead. But Ja did Ja things. They got the win. Salty Aldama is the hero. He had a great night.
Ja Santee and Desmond Bain, each 20-plus in that win for the Grizzlies. That's going to do it for Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back with us tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. We will be joined by Chief Medical Officer of the NFL, Dr. Alan Sills, as well as Joe Rexroth from The Athletic. We'll see you then.